June 6, 1944. Dawn breaks over the Normandy coast, but the sky is heavy with smoke, the salty tang of the English Channel mingling with cordite and burning fuel. The beach is a chaotic symphony. Shells scream overhead, bullets rip through sandbags, and men shout over the roar of the surf. You can see the Allied soldiers, young Americans, British and Canadians, slogging through water, their uniforms drenched, helmets streaked with mud and blood. Landing craft grind onto the shingle, disgorging waves of men who collapse under fire, scrambling for whatever cover they can find. Among the chaos, a group of American officers crouches behind a destroyed tank near Omaha Beach. Lieutenant Colonel James Anderson scans the horizon through binoculars, his face streaked with sweat and grime. He notes the positions of enemy machine gun nests, the gaps in the hedgerows, the shells exploding in the shallow water. Orders are shouted through cracked megaphones, radios sputtering amid static and interference. Everything is real, and yet what will determine the survival of this beachhead is only partly seen. Far away, in small, nondescript rooms scattered across southern England, another kind of warfare is underway. Rows of radio operators sit at keys and receivers, transmitting and receiving strings of coded messages. To the Germans, these are signals of the Allied order of battle, but in reality, they are carefully orchestrated illusions. These men, part of the ongoing effort known as Operation Fortitude, and specifically its post-invasion component, are constructing an alternate battlefield in the minds of German commanders. The purpose is subtle but lethal: convince Hitler and his generals that Normandy is a diversion, that the real invasion, the main blow, has not yet come. Across Germany and occupied France, analysts intercept radio traffic from what appears to be enormous formations moving and preparing for an assault in other locations, including the Pas de Calais and even the southern coast of France. These phantom units chatter constantly. Battalions report supply shortages. Divisions request reinforcements. Commanders discuss training exercises. Every fake transmission is calibrated to mirror what a real functioning army would sound like, complete with the mistakes, pauses, and idiosyncrasies that German intelligence has come to expect.
Back on the beaches, American soldiers fight not just for their lives, but for every minute bought by these illusions. Each hour the Germans delay sending reinforcements. Each day they hesitate, allows more troops to establish positions, more tanks to roll ashore, more supplies to reach forward units. In the hedgerows and bocage of Normandy, the subtle victory of misinformation is as vital as the firepower on the ground. Among the operators, Sergeant Margaret Lawson listens intently to the German signals, ensuring that every message sent corresponds to a phantom unit's supposed position. Her fingers dance across the key, sending updates that suggest activity in sectors untouched by any real troops. Across the Channel, German intelligence officers file reports with increasing confidence, charting movements of armies that exist only in ink and code. They do not suspect, cannot suspect, that the very signals they rely on are a fabrication, a ghostly chorus created by meticulous minds on the other side of the water. Meanwhile, in the German High Command bunker near Rennes, Field Marshal Erwin Rommel pores over maps marked with colored pins and notes from his officers. His eyes narrow at reports of troop concentrations in the north that don't match reality. He sends inquiries, orders reconnaissance flights, and calls for armored divisions to move, all based on evidence that does not exist. Each command takes hours to reach the units, and by the time it does, the soldiers in Normandy have already consolidated, and the momentum of the invasion grows stronger. The American deception doesn't rely solely on radio. Inflatable tanks and dummy landing craft dot the southern English coast. Reconnaissance planes photograph the formations, adding visual proof to the auditory illusion. Even the timing of simulated supply convoys is arranged to suggest movement of forces. When German scouts spot smoke columns rising from fake camps or hear engine sounds across the channel, they interpret these sensory cues as confirmation of what the radios already report. Sound, sight, and pattern converge into a reality constructed to mislead.
By late afternoon on June 6th, the Germans begin to make fatal assumptions. Orders for rapid counterattacks are delayed, armored divisions are held in reserve, and the weight of belief that Normandy is a diversion dictates their strategy. Meanwhile, the Allies gain the foothold that will allow them to push inland. Every captured bunker, every secured village, every hedgerow crossed owes part of its success to an invisible army moving across maps, through radio waves, and in the minds of the enemy. Even as artillery tears through real positions, phantom units continue to report activity. Lieutenant Anderson notes the exhaustion on his men's faces, but also the incremental success. Sandbag positions are held, reinforcements arrive in waves, and the Germans are not attacking with full strength. The beaches may be littered with bodies, but the deception has kept the scales from tipping too heavily against the Allies. Night falls over Normandy. Fires burn in the villages behind the beachhead, illuminating the shattered roads and fields. The sound of distant gunfire mixes with the clatter of radios in London. For the first time, the invisible battle, the one fought with signals, codes, and misinformation, begins to yield tangible results. The Germans have been misled, and the Allies' real forces have survived to fight another day. In quiet offices across England, radio operators remove their headphones, lean back in their chairs, and glance at the blinking lights of their equipment. Their work is far from over. More messages will be sent, more illusions maintained. But the first night of D-Day has shown that even in the chaos of real combat, a phantom army can shape the outcome.
June 7, 1944. The dawn is muted under gray clouds, the Channel mist curling over the beaches like a ghostly veil. Normandy is still alive with smoke and the roar of artillery. Yet the real tide of the invasion is not just in men and tanks. It is in silence and deception. Somewhere in London, a team of radio operators prepares another day of orchestrated lies. Each tap of the telegraph key carries orders, supply requests, and status updates from armies that do not exist. They are phantom units. The 17th Infantry Division, the 14th Armored Corps, the fictitious 7th and 9th Battalions. Names carefully selected to sound authentic to German intelligence. Across the Channel, German commanders interpret these transmissions as evidence. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, overseeing coastal defenses from his headquarters near Caen, pores over intercepted messages. The reports are consistent. Armored divisions are positioned near Calais. Infantry regiments continue to train and reorganize. Supply depots report shortages and arrival times of new materiel. Each message reinforces the false assumption that Normandy is only a diversion, a feint designed to draw German attention away from the real target. For the Allies, this deception is life-saving. Every hour the Germans delay moving reinforcements is an hour that allows beachheads to expand, bridges to be secured, and critical supply lines to be established. Across the bocage, American soldiers push forward, sometimes under brutal fire, sometimes advancing into quiet zones where German units were expected but never arrive. The delay in enemy response is the invisible hand that shapes the battlefield. Unseen but undeniable. Back in London, Sergeant Margaret Lawson monitors multiple frequencies at once, ensuring that her phantom units report activity in a manner consistent with real troop movements. She sends simulated requests for fuel, artillery, and medical support, while inserting minor errors, a repeated code word, a delayed transmission, to give the signals authenticity. These imperfections are crucial. Real armies make mistakes, and the Germans expect them. Without them, the deception would falter. The physical deception reinforces the auditory one. Inflatable tanks and wooden landing craft, positioned along southern England, are photographed by reconnaissance planes and spotted by German agents. Dummy camps simulate activity with smoke generators, sound recordings of drilling troops, and even staged supply trucks. The combination of sound, sight, and timing convinces the enemy that a massive army is waiting for the real attack elsewhere. In occupied France, German intelligence officers filed their reports dutifully. Colonel Friedrich Bauer, a veteran of the Eastern Front, analyzes the incoming data, marking maps with red pins indicating supposed troop concentrations. The reports are consistent and detailed, and they confirm his superiors' beliefs. Orders from Hitler and OKW dictate that reinforcements should remain positioned near the Pas de Calais, preserving strength for the expected main invasion. As a result, divisions that could have counterattacked in Normandy are immobilized, sitting idle and waiting for an assault that will never come. Meanwhile, in the hedgerows and villages of Normandy, Allied soldiers notice the effects. Roads that should be clogged with enemy vehicles remain eerily clear. Artillery fire is sporadic, targeting sectors where no units exist. Every checkpoint, every bridge secured, every town taken is aided by the enemy's hesitation, a hesitation born not of fear, but of misinformation. The deception extends even further. Juan Pujol Garcia, the Spanish double agent codenamed Garbo, sends carefully crafted reports to Berlin, claiming sightings of phantom armies and preparations for a second invasion. His invented subagents confirm positions and movements, adding credibility to the phantom radio traffic. By June 10th, German High Command is convinced Normandy was a ruse. The real invasion has yet to strike, and the Allies' main forces are still across the Channel. In the Allied command posts along the south coast of England, generals like Eisenhower and Montgomery receive confirmation via ultra-intercepts. German reinforcements are immobilized, commanders hesitate, and panzer divisions remain distant. The radio operators' efforts, hours of precise, calculated transmissions, are yielding tangible results on the battlefield. By mid-June, the combination of phantom radio traffic, dummy equipment, and double agent reports has transformed the German strategic posture. Divisions that could have been decisive in crushing the beachheads remain held back, misallocated to defend against threats that exist only in the minds of their commanders. Normandy's lodgment grows stronger with each passing day, all because the enemy believes in a battle that never existed. Even for the soldiers on the ground, the invisible war has a palpable effect. Casualties, though significant, are mitigated by the slow German response. Supply convoys move with fewer interruptions. Artillery and air support coordinate without interference from fully committed German counterattacks. Every measure of survival, every inch of progress, owes part of its success to deception, to lies sent across wires, amplified by imagination, and believed without question. As the sun sets over the hedgerows, smoke from burning villages mixing with the evening fog, the Americans consolidate positions. Their foothold, tenuous in the hours after landing, is now expanding. The enemy's inaction, a product of careful manipulation, has given them the breathing room necessary to survive and to prepare for the continued push inland. In London, the radio rooms hum quietly as operators prepare the next wave of transmissions. The illusion must persist. The Germans cannot discover the truth too soon. The battle in Normandy is fought with bullets and blood, but it is also fought with radio waves, paper reports, and phantom units. Victory will belong not only to those who stormed the beaches, but to those who commanded an army that never existed.
June 12, 1944. Normandy's roads are churned into mud by tanks and trucks, yet the Allies continue to advance. The hedgerows hide skirmishes, ambushes, and artillery duels. Explosions echo through the fields, but for every real German unit firing, countless reinforcements that might have turned the tide remain frozen miles away, held by the belief that the main attack has yet to begin. In the quiet control rooms of southern England, the operators of Fortitude's post-D-Day deception monitor their phantom armies. Sergeant Margaret Lawson and her colleagues track supposed divisions moving through France, reporting fictitious delays, logistics problems, and repositioning orders. They simulate daily routines, battalion inspections, training exercises, and routine communications, all designed to keep German intelligence occupied and misdirected. The phantom units are not static. They are dynamic, moving forward and back, conducting maneuvers, reporting morale issues, and occasionally complaining about supply shortages. Every signal is carefully timed to match what German analysts expect from real forces. Across the Channel, German commanders act on the false intelligence. Field Marshal Rommel, wounded but still involved in strategic oversight, orders reconnaissance flights to verify troop concentrations. Photographs show camps, smoke plumes, and movement that correspond to the radio traffic. Panzer divisions that could have reached the front are held back near the Pas de Calais. Even elite units of the 21st Panzer remain idle, misled by the consistency of the false reports. Every decision is shaped by voices that do not exist. The genius of the deception is in its multi-layered realism. Dummy tanks, inflatable landing craft, fake camps, and staged convoys reinforce the auditory illusion. Reconnaissance planes take images, which are intercepted by German intelligence agents and interpreted as proof. Even minor errors in transmissions, a repeated group number here, a slight delay there, convince the enemy that these are real, human-led units. The Germans trust what they see and hear, and that trust becomes their undoing. In Normandy, the real soldiers advance into positions that could have been deadly if German reinforcements had arrived on schedule. Bridges that should have been destroyed remain intact. Artillery positions are not reinforced, and strategic towns fall with less resistance than expected. Every gain is amplified by the Germans' misplaced attention, focused on a threat that exists only in imagination. Meanwhile, Juan Pujol Garcia, codenamed Garbo, continues his work feeding false reports to Berlin. His fictional network of subagents confirms the movement and positioning of the phantom armies. Each report is designed to sound plausible and independent, providing layers of evidence to reinforce the illusion. German commanders rely on these messages, unaware they are orchestrated lies. Garbo's work ensures that the German High Command cannot easily reconcile reports with reality, further delaying any counterattack. The effect on German strategy is profound. By June 15th, the Allies have not only secured a foothold, but expanded it significantly. German forces that could have surrounded the beachheads remain immobilized, watching shadows and chasing ghosts. Hitler's insistence that Normandy is a diversion aligns with the intelligence produced by Fortitude. German units in Calais and other sectors remain on standby, unable to respond decisively to the real invasion. Even in the chaos of real combat, the invisible war continues. Every radio transmission, every report from London, every dummy tank and staged camp plays a role in shaping enemy behavior. Soldiers on the beaches and in the bocage may not know the full scope of the deception, but they feel its effect. Fewer enemy tanks, slower counterattacks, and delayed reinforcements give them precious hours, sometimes days, to consolidate, supply, and push forward. By late June, The Phantom armies have achieved their purpose. German commanders begin to question their assumptions, but the momentum of the invasion is already unstoppable. Reinforcements eventually trickle toward Normandy, but their arrival is too late to prevent the Allies from securing key positions. The combination of real firepower and imagined threats has successfully manipulated the enemy's response, illustrating the extraordinary power of psychological warfare. In London, the radio rooms hum with a quiet satisfaction. Operators remove headsets, dim the lights, and glance at the empty racks where messages were carefully crafted. The work continues, but the most critical phase has passed. The deception has delayed German reinforcements long enough to cement the Allied foothold. Without the Phantom armies, the casualties would have been higher, the advance slower, and the battle far less certain. The invisible war of fortitude demonstrates a truth often overlooked in military history. Victory is not won solely on the battlefield, but also in the mind of the enemy. The combination of sound, sight, and belief has saved lives, accelerated the liberation of France, and contributed to the collapse of Hitler's defensive plans.
June 20th, 1944. The Normandy countryside, once quiet and green, is now scarred by shell craters, burnt-out vehicles, and the smoke of smoldering villages. The Allied advance continues, slower than the planners had hoped, but unstoppable. And all the while, the Germans remain uncertain of where to commit their forces. Their hesitation is not accidental. It is the direct result of the carefully orchestrated deception that continues to guide their decisions from thousands of miles away. At German headquarters near Caen, Field Marshal Rommel argues with his staff. "The Americans will strike again," he warns, pointing at the maps dotted with colored pins representing Phantom units. Every report seems to confirm what he already fears. The invasion in Normandy is a feint. Reinforcements that could have been decisive, armored divisions, mechanized infantry, and elite formations remain held back, waiting for the main attack that never comes. The tension among his officers grows. They can see the Allies consolidating, but cannot act decisively without orders from Berlin. Berlin itself is a theater of confusion. Hitler, insistent that Normandy is a diversion, refuses to authorize a full-scale counterattack. Generals submit detailed reports recommending immediate action, but the Führer's trust in the intelligence provided by double agents and intercepted radio traffic is absolute. Every delay, every hesitation is a victory for the Allies, allowing beachheads to expand and supply lines to stabilize. Meanwhile, in southern England, the operators of fortitude continue their work. Sergeant Margaret Lawson oversees transmissions from Phantom units reporting skirmishes, supply shortages, and routine exercises. These messages are not random. They are carefully designed to simulate a dynamic battlefield where armies appear to live and breathe. Minor errors and pauses make the transmissions believable, reinforcing the Germans' perception of reality. Every line of Morse code, every radio report, acts as a puppet string guiding the enemy's decisions. The physical deception supports the auditory illusion. Inflatable tanks and wooden aircraft still dot the southern English coast, casting long shadows when reconnaissance planes pass overhead. Dummy caps continue to generate smoke and noise, while strategically placed lights and sound recordings suggest the movement of troops. When German scouts report these signs, they confirm the radio traffic, reinforcing the perception that Normandy is a feint and that the real invasion is yet to come. Back in Normandy, the Allies notice the results on the ground. Roads that should be blocked by enemy reinforcements remain open. Bridges that could have been destroyed are intact. Villages that might have resisted are abandoned or lightly defended. Every advance, every small gain is facilitated by the Germans' misallocation of forces guided by false intelligence.
Soldiers in the hedgerows and towns may not know why the enemy is slow to react, but the effect is clear. The deception is saving lives and securing critical positions. By late June, the psychological grip of fortitude begins to crumble, but only gradually. German commanders start to realize that the expected second invasion is not materializing. Panzer divisions and other reinforcements slowly begin to move toward Normandy, but the timing is too late. The Allies have established strong lodgements and supply networks, and the enemy's delayed response cannot undo the advantage already gained. Across the Channel, the operators finally begin to wind down transmissions from some phantom units. Their work is not yet done, but the most critical phase has passed. The real battle in Normandy is now supported by the foundations laid by invisible armies, phantom divisions, and fabricated reports. The deception had succeeded in shaping the battlefield, dictating enemy behavior, and protecting the lives of thousands of Allied soldiers. Even decades later, historians would marvel at the scale and effectiveness of the operation. The combination of radio deception, double agents, dummy equipment, and psychological manipulation had not only delayed German reinforcements, but had also contributed decisively to the success of the Normandy campaign. Victory was achieved not only by boots on the ground, but also by the invisible armies orchestrated from thousands of miles away.
The collapse of German resistance in Normandy is a testament to the power of perception. By controlling what the enemy believed was real, the Allies turned uncertainty into advantage, hesitation into survival, and misinformation into victory. The phantom armies of fortitude ensured the D-Day would succeed not just through courage and firepower, but through cunning, patience, and the extraordinary manipulation of reality itself. June 28, 1944. The morning mist clings to the fields of Normandy, and the smell of wet earth mingles with smoke from destroyed vehicles and lingering explosions. Allied soldiers push forward through the hedgerows, capturing crossroads and small villages, their faces grim with fatigue but resolute. Behind them, supply convoys rattle over muddy roads, bringing ammunition, food, and reinforcements to secure the beachhead that has become a launching point for the liberation of France. Yet much of this success owes itself not just to courage or firepower, but to a deception that continues to manipulate the enemy's every move. In the quiet command rooms of southern England, radio operators maintain the final phase of the operation. Phantom units continue to report troop movements, supply shortages, and exercises, all designed to reinforce the illusion that the Normandy landings were a diversion. Every message is carefully calibrated to ensure the Germans remain cautious, keeping armored divisions and other key forces away from the real battle. The operators know the stakes. One misstep could alert the enemy to the ruse, potentially costing thousands of lives and slowing the advance. Across the Channel, German commanders struggle to reconcile reality with expectation. Field Marshal Rommel, already frustrated and recovering from his wounds, receives reports of Allied progress in Normandy. Yet the radio chatter from the phantom armies continues, indicating supposed preparations for a secondary assault elsewhere. He orders units to remain on standby, unable to commit decisively. Panzer divisions remain largely immobilized, waiting for a strike that does not exist. Meanwhile, in Berlin, Hitler remains convinced that the Normandy landings are only a diversion. Ultra-intercepts and double-agent reports from Juan Pujol Garcia, codenamed Garbo, continued to feed the illusion. The main invasion is still expected at Calais, and the Germans allocate resources accordingly. German generals submit urgent requests for reinforcements to Normandy, but these requests are delayed or denied by Hitler's insistence on defending the perceived primary target. In Normandy, the effect of this deception is tangible.
Allied troops face strong but scattered resistance. Enemy fire is fierce but insufficient in concentration. Roads remain open for supply convoys, artillery support is timely, and reinforcements can arrive without encountering the full weight of German defenses. Each day of delay caused by the Phantom armies buys the Allies time to consolidate, fortify, and expand the beachhead. The invisible war continues to shape the outcome of the real one. By early July, the Germans begin to realize the scale of the deception. Armored units and reinforcements slowly move toward Normandy, but the momentum is no longer in their favor. The Allies have established multiple lodgements, secured critical ports, and begun the breakout toward Caen and beyond. The Phantom armies, though fading from activity, have fulfilled their purpose. They manipulated enemy decisions at every stage, ensuring that Normandy would not collapse under the weight of delayed German reinforcements.
In London, the operators finally begin winding down transmissions for the last time. The radios fall silent, the scripts are collected and archived, and the Phantom armies vanish from the maps. Yet the impact of their work endures. Thousands of lives have been spared. The foothold in Normandy is secure, and the path for the liberation of France has been carved, in part, by shadows and lies. The legacy of the operation is not lost on those who study it decades later. Operation Fortitude, in its post-D-Day phase, demonstrates the extraordinary power of psychological warfare, that the mind of the enemy can be as decisive a battlefield as any beach or hedgerow. Victory is achieved not just with bullets or bombs, but with perception, belief, and the careful orchestration of false realities. As Allied forces prepare for the next phase of the campaign, the breakout from Normandy and the liberation of Paris, the Phantom armies stand as silent witnesses. They never fired a shot, never marched a step, and never bled. Yet their influence is undeniable. They were the invisible hand that guided the enemy's hesitation, the unseen shield that protected soldiers on the beaches, and the quiet architects of one of history's most successful operations of deception. Even today, military historians marvel at the achievement. The American trick, the creation of Phantom armies, the manipulation of radio signals, and the orchestration of misinformation, did more than confuse the enemy. It changed the course of a campaign, saved countless lives, and reshaped the trajectory of World War II in Western Europe. The invisible war is over. The soldiers march forward, the beaches are secured, and the deception that once controlled the mind of the enemy fades into history. Yet the lesson remains clear. Sometimes the deadliest weapon is not a tank or a gun, but a lie carefully believed.